Day 44. Oh man, I'm feeling a lot better. It's a little hard to do this when you're not feeling good, but that's all right. I committed. And it's just it is a fairly small part of my day that's worth being committed to. And, and time spent with God and then really meditating on it and processing it and sharing is a worthwhile venture. And I wrapped up the book of Judges this morning, and just like the rest of it, it did not end on a boring note. And it tells, so they wiped out the tribe of Benjamin, all but 600 men who escaped and were living for a time on a hill or something like that anyway, they found a place to escape to. The rest of the tribes meet, and then they feel kind of bad now. They're like, oh wow, our brothers are not able. But wait a minute, I better back up a second and summarize the whole story. And it's cold again here, but pretty colors. Do you see that ice out on the lake there? A little bit of ice forming. Okay, so tribe of Benjamin gets wiped out. 600 men only survive. They meet, the rest of the tribes meet at Mizpah, which is like a gathering where they sort of remember and make decisions. It's a big deal. And they pledge that none of their wives, as a consequence of Benjamin's sin, none of their wives can marry the tribe of Benjamin, any of these leftover men. But then they sort of think, oh, they didn't really think that through. It was maybe a short-sighted decision. And as they wanted to have their tribe whole again, they were like, well, how is this going to happen? They have no wives to rebuild their tribe with. They cannot procreate if we take away the ability of them to marry. And rather than going, well, maybe we should just change our minds and admit that we made a mistake. No, they double down. They put faith in their vow and in their own, remember, this whole book is about them kind of getting disconnected from God and doing what was right in their own eyes. So they're like, well, I said it, therefore I have to follow through, even if it's dumb. Like, have y'all done that? Have you put faith in your own words and commitment to something, even though it doesn't make sense? We see this all over the place. As I speak today, this is Super Bowl Sunday. The sports world is wrought with this stuff. And sometimes reason doesn't win out and people just plow through. Well, I committed to it, and they put faith in their commitment and their own words and their own integrity, even when following through on that means doing something kind of really dumb. When they are using discernment and they think about it and they're like, but nobody likes to admit that they're wrong. No, sometimes we just plow through and just do things anyway. And that is what, these folks did. So rather than admitting that they were wrong, maybe I'm going to retitle this, Admitting You're Wrong. They decide, well, we also made a vow that anybody who didn't attend this Mizpah will be wiped out. And they kind of took an inventory, head count, and they said, oh, the folks from, I'm going to get the name wrong, Jibab, Gilead, whatever. Sorry, I don't mean whatever. I just don't remember. So I'll get it right when I write it out. And they say, so none of them attended. So Well, there you go. Solution. We'll just wipe out that tribe and we'll keep all of the women who are pure, and those will be the people that can marry the leftover people, the survivors of the tribe of Benjamin. Well, so they went and did that. There's 400 women. Oh, not quite enough. Oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to solve this problem? We dug ourselves into this hole with our words. We're not going to admit that we're wrong. So we're going to keep going down the wrong path even further and not only make 2 wrongs a right, but maybe try to make 3 wrongs a right, which doesn't. It's just more and more wrong, piling on the wrong. And so they, at a festival where women go out and dance, they're like, oh, well, we'll allow these women to be kidnapped. That way their fathers don't have to break the rules and give away their daughters in marriage. So they find a technicality. They find a loophole in their own rules of a way to get around this. And we'll also just sort of look the other way. We just won't notice. And that way we're not going to break our own rules. So they had more faith in their own words and their own ideas and their own rules than they had common sense. They ignored their own good sense and common sense and judgment and discernment and just doubled down on following their own thoughts, their own rules, and what they said, rather than admitting that they're wrong. I think I will go back and retitle this one. Sometimes I don't know the theme until I start talking and fully process it. But that's totally what they did. They just wouldn't admit that they were wrong. Prideful. But how many times have I done that? Even as a parent. Have you done this as a parent? This is where I can really identify. Where I have really, in the heat of the moment, said something that I know I don't really want to follow through with. And then I think, well, how will they trust my word if I don't follow through? Or I, say something, or I go back on my word when I should have kept it. I really can get myself in a pickle as a parent and as a peacemaker who's a parent. And I will sometimes abandon my own good judgment to go along with somebody else that feels strongly. I can think of several instances that were actually fairly big deals where I knew better, and I, for the sake of just keeping peace, and being afraid of somebody else's reaction and not being okay with being cut off potentially, where I went along with something. That is the real struggle of some of us people-pleasing types. Fear. We allow the fear of being cut off and not sticking hold, to what we know is really right and going along with something. That might be another aspect of what was happening here. The groupthink. There probably were some people that were like, hello, this is not right. This is dumb. And they either, number one, didn't speak up, or 2, they might have spoke up, but, the majority was winning. The irrationality that can take over with group think. Are we not living in times like that right now in the year of 2022 and have been for a while, where we can just throw our own good common sense out the window and chase something that we know is wrong and go along with something, going along to get along, and just compounding the problem in a really bad way. Yeah, that's the whole book of Judges, actually, in a nutshell. This is what happens when we lose our way with our guiding principles and values, and we're not doing a check-in with those, and we're just looking to each other as humans and wanting approval and not wanting to be cut off from the tribe. And even when people are being crazy, we'll go along with the people versus what we know is really true and right, and abandon our own good judgment and good sense and just double down on what's wrong. Yeah. So on to the book of Ruth tomorrow, and I'm feeling quite a bit better. So I'm so super grateful for that today, and not all the way better, but 75-80%. So yay, I'll take it. It feels better to feel better. So I hope you all have a great Super Bowl Sunday. Cincinnati is my adopted hometown, so hoo-day, and rooting for them today, even though I really could care less about football in general. All right, bye.